On this episode of the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast, I welcome first-time guest and longtime Prince fan to the show, Micah Simpson. We're going to be discussing It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night, the penultimate track on his epic double album, Sign of the Times. Welcome to the show, Micah.
Hey. Thank you for having me.
I've been, a fan of what you do on the Purple Underground for a while now and following you on social media, but I don't know if there may be people on or listening to my show that aren't familiar with what you do, Micah, and maybe if you could introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your connection to Prince, your entry point to his music, that kind of stuff.
Sure. For those who don't know me, my name is Micah Simpson. I'm from Newport, Kentucky, which is part of Northern Kentucky, or we're right across from Cincinnati, Ohio. But I'm actually, I do a YouTube channel with my partner and one of my best friends, Perry Ross, a.k.a. P. Ross. And we have a YouTube channel called The Purple Underground. And we've been trying to think how long we've been doing this. I want to say since 2012, I believe. I think 2012. So yeah, it's just pretty much we do video vlogs, album reviews, song discussions. P. Ross, he's kind of known for doing unboxings of new Prince releases. And we actually have a segment on there called Face Off Friday Challenge, where we sort of take two Prince songs or just two songs and just kind of go up against each other, just to do something for fun. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I've just been a long time, really just a music lover, music enthusiast, music nerd, if you want to, however you want to paraphrase it.
So what would you be like what was like your first memory of listening to Prince's music, if you even remember what that is anymore?
Great question. My to be honest with you, the earliest memory of me was the first time I ever seen him was, I want to say I was about 3 years old, and I was in my parents' bedroom, and there was a TV show back in the day. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It used to be called Friday Night Videos. Used to come on NBC.
Yep.
And the first video that I ever seen him visually was 1999. Didn't know who the guy was. I just heard the song and I like what I heard. And image-wise, he just looked he had just a very striking look. The hair, the shiny purple trench coat. It was just something about him.
Yeah, he had the beautiful women up there on stage singing along with them. He had cool
Absolutely.
guys up front, playing guitar. It was a great image. He knew what he was doing, setting up that revolution for world domination.
Absolutely. And so a little bit after that, I think I had heard Little Red Corvette. So, I was just slowly starting to, get my feel for who this guy was. But the person who I always credit, who really introduced me to Prince as far as what his name was and his music, was my sister, who's she's older than me, but she's really the person who I always credit to, because she was already a fan of his. And I think when I seen and heard When Doves Cry, that's what really got me to be like, okay, let me check this guy's music out. So one day my father took me downtown Cincinnati to go look for a Prince album. And I don't think Purple Rain was out yet. It may have been, but we were looking for the album and they didn't have it. they had 1999, and that was actually the album that I was going to ask my father to purchase me. But the album that really had my interest was Controversy.
Mm.
And, at that time, I want to say album covers were sort of important, because I think the reason why I got that one because it had his picture. So I wanted to get familiar with his, with what he looked like.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something about the album cover that really, really drew me into him.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so that was really my first Prince album. Now looking back on it, I had no business listening to that album. So yeah, because because at the time I was 4 years old. Yeah, because when Doves Cry, the music video was already out, but I really can't remember Purple Rain. The album was out just yet, but shortly after, my father, we went and picked that album up too.
Yeah, yeah. So you're by 1984, you were like diving into the Prince deep end of the pool with Controversy and Purple Rain.
Yeah. I would say, Jason, I would just say I was baptized. That's when I got baptized in the sea of purple. We'll just say that.
It's so cool though when Purple Rain came out, and I didn't take advantage of it in a way that I should have at the time, but it's not like it was his debut album or anything. Like if you really got into Prince with Purple Rain, or even like 1999, and you were just like really into his music, really into his style, his sound, you could go back, and he had like 4 albums, worth of material that you could have done. Controversy, Dirty Mind, Prince, and For You. And so you had a bunch of music that you could have, backfilled in your catalog to get yourself familiar with him as he, as while you were listening to his current project, whether it was 1999 or Purple Rain. So we had a lot of stuff already in the can that many of us weren't aware of until he kind of blew up. I mean, yeah, we all know that he had kind of a pretty strong following in the Black community for, his Prince album and For You and Controversy as well. But like where I grew up, nobody was listening to that stuff. I grew up in a very kind of rural setting. And so it took his crossover success in 1999 and Purple Rain for people to finally check his older stuff. And it was just kind of cool. It's like, wow, this guy's got so many albums already, Where have I been? Where has he been? Why? How come I'm just hearing about this stuff now? And, at that time, you just got to blame the media options that were available. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have Spotify. We couldn't, didn't have the internet to see what else was being done. You had to put a lot more work in, let's put it that way, to really get somebody's discography like that.
Absolutely. Again, going back to my sister, who I'm always, like I said, I always credit her. She played a really big influence on my musical taste, and probably my parents as well. But normally, because me and my sister used to share rooms, so she would play the radio a lot. So whatever I heard coming out of her radio, that's what I sort of gravitated towards. But she actually went to the Purple Rain show that was here in Cincinnati.
Nice.
And she ended up getting the tour, the program. So that's where I started to see that he had other albums. I started to see the previous albums. I said, oh man, so now I got to go back and try to get all of those.
Yeah, I think stores were starting to stock up on some of these older catalog albums from Prince after the success, because I doubt that they're regularly carrying copies of For You in 1984. An album that didn't sell that well. It's like, oh crap, we gotta back order some of these things. People want it now.
I really don't remember seeing like the first 2 albums back then when I was that young. It wasn't until maybe a few years later when I was a little older to start seeing a lot of those other albums.
Well, cool. Thanks for sharing that, Micah. So now flash forward. It's 1987.
Okay.
And Prince has released his Sign of the Times album. And if you're listening to it now, this would be the song we're going to be covering today. It's going to be a Beautiful Night. It is the second to the last song on the entire album. Like if it was just all one long album, it'd be the second to last song. of course, it's double disc if you have the CD. It's 4 sides if you have the vinyl. And so it would be like the second to last song on side 4, second to last song on disc 2. And it kind of always was that, had that placement as the second to last song, even back when, Prince had the crystal ball configuration, which was going to be the triple disc set that he was going to release after Parade. It's Going to Be a Beautiful Night was going to be the second to last song on disc 3 of that album. So, he kind of liked this position as being like the second to last thing that people hear from him in terms of this, this era of his music and this album cycle. What's kind of interesting about It's Going to Be a Beautiful Night, there's a lot of things interesting about it, but, just from a housekeeping standpoint, it was recorded live. So this is like the only song on the album that, was recorded live. Everything else had been recorded in, Prince's, by Prince in studio. And most of it was by himself. It was supposed to have that live feel to it. And it was recorded live in Paris, France, while on a stop in the Parade tour in August, I think it was August 25th of 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you think back to who was his band in August of 1986, it was still technically The Revolution. And that's one of those kind of key little pieces of trivia that not everybody knows, is that even though Sign of the Times isn't a Prince and the Revolution album, The Revolution are on this album, on this song in particular. And so it's technically the last Prince and the Revolution song.
Actually, during this time in 1987, I didn't have the Sign of the Times album. And I think right around this time, I was really starting to collect cassette tapes a little bit more than vinyl. And unfortunately, my parents would not buy the Sign of the Times album for me because if my memory serves me correctly, I was told that you have too much Prince stuff. But I think it was a little bit more than that. now,
too much Prince stuff.
Yeah, but
no such thing.
But I think they were hearing certain things when I would play his music on my my radio. That's what I think. So, but my sister had it, so that was the only way I actually could hear the album was her copy of the cassette tape. But when I got my own copy, then that's when I started reading the liner notes and seeing that the Revolution was a part of that recording.
Yeah, liner notes were really important in the pre-internet age for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I remember that was like, even when I was like, my buddies and I, we wouldn't always buy the same tape. Like, one friend would buy the tape and then we'd all like dub it from him, and then I would buy tape and then they'd dub it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were doing that, I'd always at least spend, while I was recording, while I was dubbing it, I would spend time with the liner notes so I could learn it, because I knew I'd have to eventually give it back to my friend because it was his tape.
Yeah.
But I was really into the liner notes too. Of course, couldn't remember everything, didn't commit everything to memory, but that kind of stuff gave us information as music fans, music listeners, that you couldn't get anywhere else. Who produced this? Who's on this?
Mm-hmm.
Is there some sort of little bit of trivia, like where was it recorded? I want to know who the engineer was. I want to details that so many people just don't find important. As a big music fan, and I'm sure you can relate, that's the kind of stuff that I really dug. I really wanted to know more about the music I was listening to, how, like, the behind the scenes stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes, same here. Reading the liner notes, you start to get very familiar with a lot of names, which years later, when I either would listen to podcasts or watch interviews, or maybe even go to a Prince party and run into a certain person, then it starts to resonate back or connect. Like, oh, okay, that's such and such. Oh, there's Susan Rogers. Liner notes were, like you said, very important. I think it's something that's taken for granted nowadays.
Yeah, you miss out a lot of it if you're just listening to stuff only streaming only, and that's, I appreciate now going back to vinyl. I do buy vinyl for certain things. I don't buy everything that I listen to on vinyl. I don't have the space for that, but I certainly like buying vinyl when it's an artist that
Yeah.
I really, really love and I
Hmm.
want to have that experience with it. And um, so it's just one of those things, I've got a little vinyl collection. I got some CDs. I do still streaming. I've got it all. I do it all. I take
You do
advantage
it
of all the
all.
different.
Oh
Yeah, I take
yeah.
advantage of everything that's still out there.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Same
so
here.
another thing about "It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night" is it's a long song. Like this is the longest song on the album by far. It's like 9 minutes long. So it definitely has that live feel to it. Like a lot of Prince songs, if he was really, if it was kind of one of the songs that he was focusing on at the time, and it wasn't just like I'm going to pull this song out for a little bit of this oldie for a snippet, and then we're going to, kind of create a medley of different hits. No, this was a song that wasn't on an album yet in August of 1986. So it's not like the Paris, France audience was going to know it, but he must have had it in his mind that he wanted to kind of utilize this particular concert stop in Paris, France to record this song that was going to be meant for an album. Like I don't think he just
Hmm.
recorded it live by chance and just like, yeah, that was really cool. I'm going to use this for an album. I think it was the other way around. I think it was kind of like, I want us to practice this new song, and we're going to play this new song here, and then we're going to take this live recording and put it on my album. That's kind of what I think. I don't know this for a fact, but that's my impression.
Yeah. Well, from what I've read, it was something that I guess it was sort of done on the spot. I think they before the actual Paris show earlier in the day where they were doing sound check, they did like a little run through of the song, and then they actually performed it later on that night. So it does kind of for me it does kind of give a song they just not really didn't really rehearse a
Not a
lot.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you I don't know if you really are into collecting unofficial stuff.
Yes.
but
Yes.
yeah, I've actually heard the Paris show, and if you hear the version on there, you definitely get a feel that yeah, this is something that they just recently just started doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Which explains why Prince Wayne took that basic recording because it's not, to your point, it's not just lifted directly from that show and placed on an album. Prince did a lot of overdubs on the song.
absolutely, yep,
Yeah, and I'm
yep,
sure, yeah,
and
if you
added
if you
vocals
compare
with
the
other
two,
people. Hmm.
yep, if you compare the two, the original Paris live recording versus what ended up on Sign of the Times, you can really
Hmm.
I'm imagining you can really pick up the differences, the changes, the things he added.
Absolutely. And to your point right there, that's something that I actually did yesterday in preparation for this video. I went and played uh,
Nice.
both versions. Yeah, because I hadn't listened to that show in a long time, as far as in completion. So I said, wow, okay. I mean, it was still good, but and it is a difference. There are some similarities, but like you said, you
Yeah.
could tell where he went back and did overdubs and put I think Jill Jones and Susanna Melvoin and
He added their vocals
Sheila
after.
E. Yeah, from what I've read, I believe they're credited in the liner notes, Susanna
Hmm.
and Jill on the
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were on stage with him that night or if they were added in overdubs.
Well, I've actually seen the video of that show too. I don't remember seeing Jill or Susanna on that show, but it's been
Yeah,
a
because
long
I don't.
time since I've actually seen it.
Yeah, for some reason I don't think. And somebody please correct me if you're listening to this episode. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just for whatever reason didn't think Jill was participating in the parade tour. I don't know where I thought that. I might be. I mean, I will definitely eat my words if I'm wrong, but for some reason I didn't think that she traveled with Prince and was on the tour
Mhm.
with him like she was on the 1999 tour.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but.
Well,
Uh,
I would have to agree with you because I've never seen or read anything about her being around. As
yeah,
far as
yeah, me neither.
yeah.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask you, because the song starts out with oh wee oh oh. Now
Hmm.
that is, of course, is uh, a reference to I guess it's called the March of the Winkies song from The Wizard of Oz, and they're the henchmen of the Wicked Witch of the West. And so people recognize that, and that's been used in other songs. God,
Hmm.
I think there was an LL Cool J song that he did that in too.
Yep. Yep. I'm that
Um,
type of guy.
I'm a
Yeah.
type of guy.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So Micah, having just heard the Paris version, was that part of the Paris version, the live version?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure about that. Okay, so that's how the song starts. We get that, and Prince is really kind of playing like band leader, hardcore in this song, or probably throughout this whole tour. But you
Oh
definitely
yeah.
get a sense for it here because he's like, shouting out instructions throughout the song. He has some other people do the same thing. You hear like female voices saying things as well, but Prince does a lot of that, and like groove, drop out them horns, and what because he's basically telling Eric in Atlanta to stop playing the horns because we're gonna start singing now, and so instead of
Oh
just
yeah.
like making it that or just having it part of the timing that they practice, he said drop out them horns, and that's how kind of the song starts after the OEO, and then we get to the first lines of lyrics. And this song, before we really get into the lyrics, I just will say there's a lot of lyrics in this song. A lot of it is kind of like repetitive, just kind of saying some of the same things over and over because it's supposed to be like a vibe. It's not, as we kind of briefly talked about before we started recording this episode. The song isn't like one of those like overly deep tracks, and from a lyrical standpoint, it's meant to be a party song. Party
Right.
songs aren't necessarily going to be or have alternate meanings or something that's really buried under the surface that you have to kind of dig out to understand
Real
what Prince is
deep.
talking about. Yeah, it's not real
Hmm.
deep. He's not really getting into a lot of depth here, and because there are so many lyrics, we probably won't spend this episode dissecting every single line. I will read them all, but then we'll probably just kind of talk about like the overarching theme of the verse or anything that we found interesting, anything we wanted to kind of highlight.
Hmm.
Okay, so the first verse is it's going to be a beautiful it's going to be a beautiful night. You got your world together. Everything's looking all right. Tonight there's no tomorrow. This is going to be the one. And then you hear Prince sing out, "All right, Paris, we're gonna see how soulful you are. You ready?
Hmm.
Tonight we're gonna lose our sorrow. Tonight we're gonna have some fun. Come on, say it." And this is where the credit is to Susanna, Jill, and Prince. And I can't personally, like in this first verse, I can't tell. I don't hear alternating voices. Either they're all really in sync, which is cool, or it's just Prince singing falsetto. I can't tell necessarily. That's just my ears.
Yeah. I really can't hear them on that particular verse. They could be in there, or he could have maybe did some sort of trickery where he buried their
Yeah,
vocals in the mix
exactly.
because he, I mean, to be honest, let's just keep it real. He did kind of do that to Wendy and Lisa with some of these tracks on the album.
Yep.
But yeah, if if they are on there, I can't really hear him. I definitely hear more so his vocal, with his falsetto.
Yeah, that's what I get out of it. It's
Hmm.
just Prince and his falsetto, which
Hmm.
is interesting because, and this is where there had to be overdubs because there's still lyrics going on. This is going to be the one. Tonight we're going to lose our sorrow. And then you hear Prince in the background calling out Paris.
Paris,
Like
that's the
it's like,
crowd.
how can he be doing two things at once? On live on stage. So this is where we get kind of our first clue that there's definitely been some overdubbing on this track. If you're really, really
Absolutely.
paying attention, but
Oh yeah.
for the most part, I think most people are just getting into the groove of the song.
And you know something? When I was younger, hearing this song, I always wanted to know, because back then I was younger. I was a little ignorant to not knowing the all the different techniques they do when it comes to recording. So I always used to wonder how's he doing that if he's singing, then then you hear him actually talking to the audience. It was
Yeah,
so
yeah. No, it's
yeah.
it does. It's a little jarring, and that's why you kind of get the feeling or understand that this sounds live, and you hear crowd noise in the background.
Hmm.
So there's at that point it's one of two things. It's either fake crowd noise and this is all just a studio song, or he has this live recording that he also then added stuff later. But yeah, when you're young, you don't really know all that stuff yet.
Right.
So it's a real
Absolutely.
optimistic kind of vibe that he's going for here. You got your world together. It's going to be beautiful. Everything's looking basically the future's bright. Everything looking great. He wants to get the crowd kind of in a optimistic frame of mind,
Hmm.
positive frame of mind. It's time to party basically and stop caring about the stuff that he was singing about earlier in the song, like on Sign of the Times. Don't worry
Right.
about all that. Don't worry about all that stuff. Let's just party tonight.
Right. Yeah. When I was really going back, listening to this song and reading the lyrics, I, there were certain moments. Now, this is when I was in my clubbing days, and you know how it is sometimes when you have a rough week or a rough day, and you need to get out, and you want to hit the town, you want to get out, with your friends, your boys, and just go hit up the club and just party. It's almost like those lyrics sort of resonate with me because I've been in situations like that where I had a rough day, but once you get to a club or a party and the music, it just all that just you just sort of forget about that. It's like, hey, you had a rough week, but hey, tonight it's gonna be a beautiful night. Let's so.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to make it all okay for a little while and trying to forget all of that. And
Hmm.
music that's why people who really love music because it kind of takes us out of the reality for a little bit. Like we can lose
Hmm.
ourselves in the music. People,
Absolutely.
can do that with movies or with books or TV
Hmm.
shows. But those of us who are the huge music fans,
Hmm.
we're gonna be utilizing music as our escapism in some ways.
Escapism, exactly. I was just about to use that word. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what this song is too. For me, and I think for a lot of people who enjoy it, it's escapism.
Oh yeah.
And then we get to the chorus, and we do hear the OEO
Hmm.
kind of in the background here, but the lines are very simple. The chorus is very simple. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful night. And you keep hearing Prince periodically and throughout the song calling things out or talking to the audience, speaking to the audience. Keep singing, y'all. It's going to be a beautiful night. First,
Hmm.
clap your hands. And then we get to the second verse, which is little boy got the notion. Get some love tonight. Get your rap in motion, for she's out of sight. Little girl at the party, maybe she'd like to dance. Ring around the rosy, pocket full of chance. And again, you hear Prince in the background while these lines are being sung, saying, "Paris, are you ready?" And then he calls out the horns again. Horns, do it. All right, so this second verse has a few more kind of has some interesting imagery here with the little boy and little girl lines, and then following it up with reference to basically like a limerick or a nursery rhyme. Ring around the rosy,
Hmm.
the old nursery rhyme. Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy. But here it's pocket full of chance because he's trying to rhyme chance with dance. Maybe she'd like to dance. So I guess with this section of lyrics, Micah, like with the whole little boy, little girl, and the reference to nursery rhyme,
Hmm.
what do you think the vibe he's going for? Just like a youthful vibe, trying to appeal to our youthful side.
Possibly so. When he says, "Little boy got the notion to get some love tonight," I sort of had this vision of, like, I don't know if he's saying him as a little boy or just let's just say just anybody as a little boy, somebody who's at a party and he sees a girl or his agenda that night is okay, like I gotta I got to meet somebody. I got to go home with, somebody, tonight. So, and when he says you better get your rap in motion, means, you gotta, you better make sure that your game is tight. When you're gonna, go up to a nice young lady and spit your game, or, try to get to know her. And as far as the little girl at the party, that the little girl is probably the girl who he's trying to rap to, but she's just there to, just to have a good time, just, get out there on the dance floor and get a groove on.
He's at the club and he sees this beautiful, beautiful girl, and he wants to ask her to dance. And so it's kind of, again, one of those, the image you're getting is very similar to kind of like the image that you get from a song like You Got the Look, when he sees a girl at the club, or the beginning of I Can Never Take the Place of Your Man. It's like this common theme that he's got in a few of these songs on the second half of Sign of the Times, where he's out partying and sees somebody fine and he wants to, spit his game to her. And the use of the word rapping, he does that in the next song, Adore. Rap until the sun came up. Again, it's the same kind of rap. He's not talking about, rhyming, and the rap is the art form, the musical art form. He's talking about, as you said, spitting game to these girls that he's trying to pick up. And so, it's just, I think that's the image we get. We both get the same image. I just found it kind of curious that he's utilizing like all of these really kind of useful terminology: little boy, little girl, ring around the rosy, talking about and so it's just an interesting kind of way of saying something that is pretty commonplace, I think, maybe.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the ring around the rosy connection, but I think I like your take on it. So
yeah, it just kind of gives you a youthful feeling. Maybe, not obviously don't want to go too young with it, because then it gets a little weird. But but we'll just stick with young adults. Young adults.
There you go. 18 and over.
Yes, exactly. And then to change the lyrics at the end, instead of, like I said, instead of pocket full of posies, pocket full of chance. I just get like the chance he's going to take hitting on this girl, basically. Like, he's got to, you're never going to pick somebody up if you don't make the effort, and don't go for it. You have to take a chance.
You got to shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot. Exactly. And he shot it. All right. So then we go to the chorus again, and it's still, at this point, it's still basically saying it's going to be a beautiful night. And they repeat that again. He does ad-lib here, guitars and drums, groove. And then we get, after this section, it's kind of like, this is where I start hearing some of the women's voices a little clear. Whether it's Susanna or Jill, they come out more clear than they were in the first couple of verses, where they say there's nothing better than sleeping on a rainy day. We could spend the night together. Come on, baby, what you say? With these lines, I guess I don't really know if there's any connection to these lines to the previous verse. Like, if you're supposed to assume that he was successful in picking up this quote unquote little girl at the club, and now that they're hanging out and maybe even talk about spending the night together. I don't know, or it could be completely separate grouping of lyrics that don't really have any connection to anything else that's been sung thus far. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, Micah?
No, that's pretty much how I took it. It's after the ring around the rosy dance, and and just sort of enjoying the moment, the interaction, and obviously they sort of connected physically, and probably after the or maybe even during the club is or the party, while things are starting to wind down, and so they want to maybe take things to a different level afterwards.
Yeah. And sleeping on a rainy day, that referencing that kind of gives you the feeling that they're digging each other enough where they actually want to spend an extended amount of time together.
Absolutely.
Spend all night, sleep all day kind of situation. Definitely not getting the impression that it's a wham bam setup here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it's a real strong connection
Hmm.
that's, that is taking place.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I think what this is trying to do in the song, like it's going to be a beautiful night. It's just part of like what makes the night beautiful. Finding somebody that you connect with. And it's cool if you don't, right? I mean, you can have a great night just out with your boys or your girls,
Hmm.
having fun, dancing, partying, whatever, and you don't have to like find somebody to sleep with or spend the night with or whatever. But if you do, cool. I mean, if that's what you're up for, that's what you're looking for as well, or at least if you're open to it. Um, if you're single, it's all good. Go for it. And that's kind of
Absolutely.
like here's something that could make the night beautiful, having a connection with somebody else,
Oh
physical,
yeah.
mental, and what otherwise.
Hmm.
Okay, well then we get to the chorus again, and this is Prince now singing this. This chorus is pretty much just Prince. I only hear Prince's voice here, and he's kind of talking in the lower register. He's not singing falsetto. It's going to be a beautiful night. Oh, and he repeats that a few times. Nothing kind of unique besides just the way it's delivered. No unique lyrics there. Just he delivers it differently than he delivered the chorus previously, where it was sung in the falsetto. But then we get to the next verse, and these lines of lyrics are: no time for politics. No, we don't want to fight. Everybody get up. It's going to be a beautiful night. No time for sorrow. This is going to be the one. Tonight there's no tomorrow. Tonight we're going to have some fun. Are you ready, Paris? Yeah, I mean this verse is very similar in many ways to like the first verse, just talking about it's going to be a great night. We're talking about positivity again. Try not to bring it down with talk about negative things or anything that's going to divide you. Like politics is a very divisive topic.
Hmm.
Let's not get out there on the floor and or have drinks and start talking about things that are going to be really potentially divisive, like politics or religion or anything that the big no-nos when you're when you're in mixed company, things you don't want to necessarily talk about when you're
Right.
trying to keep the mood light, trying to keep the vibe light. We don't want to fight because those are the types of things people feel real passionate about. So it's not really
Hmm.
about that kind of passion. Doesn't want
Yeah.
the deep discussions. Like there's a time and place for that. And Prince wasn't, as we know, he wasn't like somebody who never or shied away from deeper discussions in his music. But it's going to be a beautiful night isn't the song to do it.
Yeah. Like you said, there's a time and a place for everything, and this time is just let's just have a good time. Let's not worry about our political views or religious views or whatever it is. Let's just all come as one. Let's just everybody on the same page, a good vibe, and just have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry about your sorrows or whatever is going on in your personal life.
Yeah, basically, like I said, he's reiterating the point of the song and what he kind of expressed earlier in the song about put all that put all that stuff aside. We're gonna really just let it all out, let it go.
Hmm.
I hear, I don't know about you, Micah. I kind of hear what I think is Jill's voice towards the end. Like tonight, there's no tomorrow. Tonight, we're gonna have some fun. You
Hmm.
kind of hear a woman singing in that kind of really strong vocal style that Jill has. Maybe it's just me hearing things, but I swear I hear Jill there in those two lines.
Yeah, I think it's Jill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's her. Yeah, I back in the day, after I seen the concert film, I used to think it was Bonnie Boyer, but again, that's what liner notes for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
That would be
uh,
how Bonnie would sing it, like if they were doing the song on tour, because you'd see her. She had that kind of also very strong vocal
mhm.
stylings in her when she sang. She had a very gospel sounding voice, and so that would make sense. Make complete
Yes.
sense why you would think that.
Oh yeah. I was going to say, going back to the opening lyric, we said no time for politics. No, we don't want to fight. That part sort of reminded me, or maybe harkens back to the theme of Party Up a little bit, with the opening line on Party Up, he said, "We don't give a damn, we just want to jam and party up." So
Yeah.
I actually thought about that when I was going back listening to the song.
Yeah, that's
and the
good. It's a good
lyrics.
connection because that song is very much a political song, but it's also kind of like screw politics, screw your war. We're not going to do that. We're just going to party.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more about what that song's about. This song, you get that in lines like what you just referenced, no time for politics. Otherwise, the song doesn't really talk about it that much. But yeah, a line like that for certain has that
Right.
vibe. Okay, then we move on to the chorus again. Again, we have more of the OEOs. We have some Prince saying "say it all" and 2 times towards the end, but I'm not going to repeat the lines because it's still just it's going to be a beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful
Be a
night.
beautiful night.
We are beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful night. We are beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful night. And they repeat that, numerous times. We are beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful night. I like that because it kind of brings it back, self-reflection. Not just it's going to be beautiful, but everybody's beautiful. Everybody has beauty in them. And again, it's a really positive lyric and when you're singing it, you just how can you feel bad about yourself if Prince is telling you we're all beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's
Exactly.
just a great line. Just a great way to kind of emphasize the whole positive and joyful vibe that the song gives out.
Absolutely. You just said that joyful vibe. That's exactly what I can get from it. It's just a real feel good moment. You know.
Yeah, and they say it a lot too. They don't. It's
Yes.
not just hidden. It's not like we are beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful night. Then moving on. Like they repeat it
Mhm.
over and over and over and over and over, and
Exactly.
it really kind of hammer home the point that we are beautiful, each and every one of us.
Absolutely. Oh
Paris,
yes.
say it one more time. And so he's trying to get the crowd to sing it too, which is a great a great thing. It's not like he's saying, or it's a good way if you're trying to get everybody in the crowd to participate, to have that kind of mantra, we are beautiful, it's going to be a beautiful night, to really uplift the crowd as well. He's uplifting the listener of the song if it's on Sign of the Times, uplifting the crowd in Paris, hopefully uplifting his band, even though they're about to break up. So, um, rough times in the Revolution in late August in '86, but you don't get that from listening to the song.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And there were some rough times, but I wonder if the band really felt like they were gonna really break up, during that moment or
Yeah,
not.
probably
But
not. Probably not.
yeah.
I don't know. We'd have to ask somebody from the Revolution. What was the vibe that night at Paris? Were you guys as joyful on stage as you sound in the song, or or were you just kind of going through the motions? Hopefully it's the former, not the latter,
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
because that would kind of be
Yeah.
a bummer. Wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. It would. And the funny part is that was just such a fun, just such a great tour, just as far as the shows I've seen or even listened to on audio. So
Yeah.
when they broke up, it's just like, wow, like why? But
Yeah, Parade Tour was one of those tours I think a lot of people, if you, because the Purple Rain tour with the Revolution was a little, I mean, it was grand, it was big on a lot of different scopes, and that was about towards the end of that, and they were starting to bring extra people on stage, and the
yeah.
tight knit group was definitely getting bigger and bigger, bringing Miko in, and we'll
Hmm.
reference actually Miko here in a second. He calls out Miko. Um, you've got Greg and Wally, you've got the horn players like Eric in Atlanta. Like the Revolution just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but Prince's sound kept getting bigger and bigger. He wasn't just making those tight drum machine LM1 drum machine songs with some guitar that he could recreate from the 1999 era. I mean, these were big songs, and this is a big song too from a sound standpoint. Sounds big.
Right. Yes. Yeah, he was somebody who was always just 2, 3 steps ahead, of the game. And I don't know about you, but I often kind of wonder with this song if he was really trying to let me kind of test this song out on everybody in the band, and let's just see who. Almost like let me just see who is the funkiest, you know,
This was a
because
test, yeah, for sure.
yeah, because I love Wendy, but it seems like Miko is just from the sound of it, seems like he's outshining her on this song a little bit.
The revolution broke up and Miko went on with Prince for the Sign of the Times and Love Sexy eras, so he made his choice.
Yes, he did.
So then we move on here. There's the chorus again, but then we have like this little more of an interlude, I would call it. He says, everybody get way down. Tonight we're going to ball. Tonight we're going to get the bomb, y'all. I'm talking about the Detroit crawl. You have some horn stabs there. Everybody in the West, everybody in the East, paint the man a picture with my chicken grease. Get with it. Are you ready, Paris? Soul clap. Give me the bass one time. So there's some kind of interesting references here, Micah. The Detroit Crawl is one. I know that he recorded Cocoa Boys around the same time that the song was, in being practiced, in tour practices, and he was recording many songs around this time, stuff that we ended up getting on the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition last year, and Cocoa Boys is one. I know he references Detroit Crawl in that.
Yeah.
In Detroit Crawl, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the dance, or not the dance, is that the one he's like kind of moving across the stage a little bit on his back? Is that the Detroit Crawl?
I would say so, because when I first heard the song on the album, I didn't know what the Detroit Crawl was, and then when I seen the concert film, I said, so that's what the Detroit Crawl is. So So when I hear it, I sort of reference to the actual performance on the movie, the concert movie.
Mm-hmm. And the reference to chicken grease, is that just kind of like a reference to his guitar playing?
I would say so.
I wasn't quite sure. Paint the man a picture with my chicken grease. So he's kind of playing with words there.
Oh yeah,
a little bit. It's just fun lines. I mean, again, don't know if they're ad lib there on stage. If stuff that he had or had been practicing, kind of like these lines to keep the vibe going. Because again, this is a 9-minute song, so there's got to be, he's on stage 9 minutes. You got to keep throwing stuff out there to the crowd, to the band, to keep their interest going. Can't just be. And Prince is a showman. I mean, these are all showman tactics. He's not just standing there quietly playing his guitar and singing just, lines that are predetermined and pre-written. I mean, he's trying to put on a show.
Right.
Using James Brown as a great touch point here to some of the ad libs that he adds in here. I think there's a little bit of that going on, or some of that inspiration comes out in this song a little bit.
You just stole my thought. I was just about to.
Sorry.
It's all good. No, I was just gonna say the Parade tour. It seemed like he was on his James Brown, because he rarely played guitar, maybe a couple of songs, but the only thing he really played was the organ and the piano. But he was mostly just up there, just being a band leader and just really dancing his butt off the whole time.
Dancing his little butt off. Because he was.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, he was.
Really moving.
Yes, he was. But he was definitely on his JB. Definitely.
Yeah. What we have next is what has kind of been referred to as the Trans-Mississippi rap section of the song. And this was obviously added in overdubs. This is Sheila E. talking on the phone, reciting a poem from a 19th century poet by the name of Edward Lear. So not even a modern poet. This was some guy who was writing poems in the 1800s. Limericks and children's types of nonsensical poems. And this poem is called "The Table and the Chair." And Sheila E. raps this over the phone. So her voice is kind of It's a little hard to understand because it's got that long distance phone call sound to it.
Hmm.
People who know long distance phone calls back in the day and trying to record them. This is what it sounds like. And so I'm going to say the poem because I feel like there's probably plenty of people who've heard this song and have never really understood every single line because she does them fast too. It's like she raps it quickly and it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's kind of a nonsensical poem, but I don't really want to talk about it too much, Mike. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I don't want to go through every line and just like dissect this whole poem.
Hey man, I feel you. I mean, I'm one of those people who didn't know what she was talking about. I had no
Yeah.
clue. Years
Sounds
later,
cool though.
it does. Years later, when I actually printed off the lyrics, I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting. But the only thing I get out of it was her flow was nice. The way she rapped it was her flow was real nice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
other
she
than
was in
that,
Crush Groove around shortly before this, so she's hanging around a lot of
that's
rappers. So she must
that's
have
true.
gotten picked up some tips from LL and Run and, and
Oh
Curtis
yeah,
Blow.
Curtis Blow, yeah, Fat Boys, maybe
Yeah,
possibly.
she's picking up some tips on how to flow. And so okay, so the poem again, as I mentioned, it's called "The Table and Chair." It's from a 19th century poet by the name of Edward Lear. She's talking about it. The Trans-Mississippi Rap, I guess, gets the name because she was on the other side of the Mississippi River. So I'm guessing this scenario, because Prince was doing all this stuff in overdubs, who's probably at Sunset Sound in California. She must have been on the East Coast somewhere because she's
Hmm.
originally from Cali. So if she was at
Right.
home and he was in Sunset Sound, they'd be in the same state.
Same.
Uh,
Yeah.
and if
Exactly.
Prince was back in Minneapolis, I looked at and verified, Mississippi River cuts right through the city of Minneapolis, and Chanhassen
Minneapolis.
is
Hmm.
is like where he lived, like in the Chanhassen area, is on the western side of the Mississippi River. So the only thing that makes sense is that Prince was out in California recording this. Sheila must have been somewhere on the East Coast or somewhere on the eastern side of Mississippi, and that's why it was called the Trans-Mississippi Rap. If anybody knows any different and knows exactly where Sheila was when this was recorded, let me know because I couldn't find it. Okay, so the lines are: said the table to the chair, you can hardly be aware how I suffer from the heat and from the chilblains on my feet. If we took a little walk, we might have a little talk. Pray let us take the air, said the table to the chair. Said the chair to the table, now you know that we are not able. How foolishly you talk when we know you cannot walk. Said the table with a sigh, it can do no harm to try. I have as many legs as you, why can't we walk on two? So they both went slowly down and walked about the town with a cheerful bumpy sound. As they toddled round and round, and everybody cried as they hastened to their side, see the table and the chair have come to take the air. But in going down the alley to a castle in the valley, they completely lost their way and wandered all the day, till to see them safely back they paid a ducky quack, and a beetle and a mouse who took them to their house, when they whispered to each other, "O delightful little brother, what a lovely walk we're taking, let us dine on beans and bacon." So the ducky and the little brawny mouse and beetle dined, and danced upon the heads till they toddled to their beds. Good God. And good God indeed after reading that. And she did that all like,
You act.
super fast.
You actually flowed that pretty well.
I was gonna
I have to
try to
give you your
go as fast as
props.
she went, but I did not practice at all. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that.
That was a
I
wise
tried. I
choice.
tried.
Yeah, that was yeah. Because I wasn't gonna try to do it. Not that fast.
Yeah, it's my
No.
show. I feel like I have to. So
I.
the one takeaway I get from this also that I didn't always hear because the rap part gets just kind of overpowers everything else for me personally. But in the background, Prince is leading a chant. Can't nobody fuck with us. Can't nobody
Hmm.
fuck with us. And he's saying this over and over, and he's trying to get the crowd to repeat it. Can't
Hmm.
nobody fuck with us. And I never picked that up. Or I shouldn't say I never picked that up, but I rarely like heard all of those lines because again, I was just kind of transfixed by Sheila's rapping that I just wasn't paying attention to what Prince was saying in the background. So was he doing that in the? I mean, if you don't remember, that's fine. But Was he saying that? Was he chanting that in the live version from Paris?
Yeah. Yeah. He was.
Okay.
Yeah. when I used to listen to the song on headphones, you would hear Sheila. I think, and if someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you hear Sheila on one ear and then you hear Prince on the other. I mean, I could be wrong, but
that would make it easier for sure to pick them up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just listening to it like in a car or something, where you don't have the two different channels of vocals, yeah, it's much harder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought it was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah. That was him. Just letting the crowd know that he was just letting people know that I'm the I got the baddest band
Yep.
in the world. So
I'm a bad man with a bad band. Yep, exactly. That's what he's basically saying. And he even calls out the revolution right after the rap. Revolution, baby, way down low. Beautiful night, y'all say it. And he repeats that. Beautiful night, y'all say it. Say, what a beautiful night, y'all say it. And he says that again. Beautiful night, y'all say it. Wants him to repeat it. Say it louder, say it louder. And he says, Miko, hit me in the back with funk. Because he doesn't ask Wendy to hit him in the back with funk. He asked Miko.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he was bringing the funk, and that's kind of what he was there for, bring that funk guitar.
Yeah, I have to agree. Although I do think Wendy could get funky. Oh,
Yeah.
she could definitely hold her own. But I think when it comes to the funk part, she got a little competition with Miko.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Wendy and Lisa's solo stuff. So
yeah,
I'm definitely not a hater of their contributions in the revolution and their music. But Miko,
same here. Yep.
Miko was brought in for a reason, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, just more lines again. On his JB tip, as you mentioned, he's just calling things out, saying stuff to get the crowd, continue to keep the crowd engaged, keep the crowd into it. And again, just beautiful night. He wants to keep hammering that point home. It's a beautiful night. He wants everybody to repeat it. Beautiful night. Say it louder. Everybody feeling all right. Going to be a beautiful night. And I'm not mentioning this, but throughout the song, repeatedly you hear the oh. So who is saying that in the live version? Is it the guys? Like, is it
Jerome,
Greg and Wally?
Jerome, Wally, and Greg Brooks. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And he calls out the horns again. Get the horns in here. Keep singing, y'all. Everybody, clap your hands. And then he yells out towards the very end, confusion. And I'm like, yeah, I'm confused. Why? What's that reference to? I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, when I first heard that, I didn't know what was going on, and then you just hear all these, the crazy horn lines, and so. But years later, that was just a cue, for the band to end it, I guess.
Yeah, kind of like Ice Cream.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense if you're listening to it out of context, but it has certain meaning to the band, I'm sure. Confusion doesn't make any sense to us as listeners, but I'm sure it made sense to this band. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's the song, man. That's the entire song. It's 9 hours, 9 minutes of live funk and some added over. Like I've heard that the horns were overdubbed, but I don't know why they would need to be, unless the horns weren't as strong in the live version.
Yeah, I'm not sure. From what I can remember, I believe they sound pretty identical to the live version, but maybe I have to go back and listen to it again.
Yeah, maybe I'll check out Dwayne Tudall's book and on the entry of this, the recording date when he went back to the studio to work on the song again in November of '86. There might be some reference to that. I just haven't worked my way through his book yet. And this song, it's pretty much at a wrap here now, Micah. Anything else you wanted to bring up related to the song? Anything that we haven't touched on that you found interesting about the song? Or
yeah, I was just gonna say I always look at this song now, as far as in the context of the album, it's sort of like a farewell send off to the revolution and that whole era, which I know mentioned at the beginning how, when Prince was going through certain configurations, from the crystal ball, which ended up being a sign of the times once he sort of sliced it down to a double LP. I always felt like, well, at least now, I always kind of feel like this should have been the last song on the album. As much as I love Adore, which is probably my favorite song off the album, and it's a great album closer, but I think this equally could have been, just as good as Adore as an album. Excuse me, as an album closer. So
yeah, I mean, it was the song. It was the song that they ended the tours on, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, they
Sign
sure
of the
did.
Times tour. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I also kind of wonder, since this was sort of like a just a song that was performed on the spot. I really kind of wonder if Prince was just trying to, let me just throw this on the band and let's just see what happens. And it's good, but in comparison to the time, that band just took this song and just really amplified it even more. And I think the performance on the concert film really just exemplifies that.
Yeah.
Because I think the tempo was just a little bit faster, and it's just a little bit more funkier. It's just, I mean, the horn lines is really what I just really kind of brightens up the song. For me, Eric Leeds and Atlanta Bliss. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I mean, it's definitely a great song.
It's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because now it makes me think like this was almost, in some ways, a last opportunity or last chance for the Revolution to show them that they could hang with the direction he was moving.
Yep.
And because it wasn't well rehearsed, as you mentioned. It wasn't a song that they had been rehearsing for months. And before they performed it live here, it was pretty much like, hey, I got this new song. Let's rehearse it a couple times. Then we're going to perform it. And maybe he was thinking in his head, like, kind of waffling on the idea of breaking up the Revolution and moving on with a different band. But maybe if they would have knocked it out the park that night, and they gave him the sound that he was looking for, maybe they wouldn't have broke up. I don't know. I mean, there's nobody's gonna know for sure. But,
right. Yeah.
But it could have been almost like they didn't know it, but it could have been like an interview or a tryout. Like who's gonna stick around with me in this? Because this is where I'm going. This is the music I'm making now. I'm moving past kind of like the old Minneapolis sound, getting out some of these more. Adding more funk elements to my music, and I need a band that can hang with me and with the music that I'm going to be creating in the future. It'd be cool if I could still keep you guys with me, but at the end of the day, I've got to do what's best for me.
Yeah,
it's just speculation. Don't know for sure that was going in his mind, but it does make sense.
Exactly. I was just about to say it's all up for speculation, and I'm sure that was sort of a struggle with him because he was so close with Wendy and Lisa, Bobby Z also. And,
been with them since the 70s.
Yeah, but he's probably looking at Sheila's band and them being from the Bay Area and the Bay Area and a lot of those groups played a very important influence on him. Sly and the Family Stone, Santana, and I'm sure if he wanted to have the best of both worlds, he probably would have had everybody. But at that time, it's like you just had to pick and choose who he felt, like you said, as far as where the next phase, the next direction he wanted to go musically, he was going to pick who he felt was qualified to utilize or whatever he was trying to convey next. and
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah, It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night is a great bridge between the Prince and the Revolution era and the Sign of the Times band.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, this was the Revolution recording it, but it had elements of that next band. Members of that next band were here and part of the parade tour. You got Miko still there, Greg and Wally. I mean, they weren't musicians per se, but they were part of the vibe of the whole band
Mm-hmm.
that was evident on and present on stage during that tour.
Yes.
And he was able to, I think it was just, as I mentioned, it was a good bridge, and as you suggested, kind of like a farewell kind of song for the Revolution. Like this is my chance to say goodbye to the Revolution on record, because he didn't have to include that recording at all on Sign of Times. He could have re-recorded
That's true.
It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night. But I think in late '86 he still hadn't figured out who his next band was going to be entirely. Like he was still anybody wanted it as part of the project. So what are you going to do? You want a live song? I mean, he's done songs that had a live feel to it where it was just himself. Housequake, for example, but you also can tell in Housequake, even though it sounds like he's trying to create a live setting in studio, you can tell it's just a bunch of princes singing in the background if you're paying attention.
Oh, yeah.
And I think and adding the crowd noise just adds a bit of, it's just not as authentic. And he was looking for a bit more of an authentic live song, I think, for this particular recording. But yeah, no, it's good insight and great way to kind of close out our conversation on It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night.
Yeah.
So with that said, Micah, can you let people know where they can find the show and point them in direction for your social media pages?
Oh yeah, you can find me on YouTube at the Purple Underground YouTube channel. For me personally, you can look me up on Facebook, Micah Simpson. I'm also on Instagram at Micah Simpson _CMS. Just look me up. Get at me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this episode.
Yeah, thank you. I really do appreciate it. I'm a fan of the podcast, man, and just want to salute you and keep up the good work, man. Really do appreciate your voice out here on these purple streets.
Yes, got to keep waving the purple flag for
Absolutely.
for the man after he's gone, because his music
Absolutely.
needs to continue to live on, and those of us who grew up with it, love it, and have been listening to his music, whether it's been for 5 years or 40 years, it all means a lot to us. And I think it's really important for us to continue doing what we're doing, what you're doing, what I'm doing, different mediums, but you got to kind of reach the people in any way you can. And so YouTube, podcast, whatever it takes, blogs, writing, we're all out here. We're all out here doing our best, and it's fun. I mean, if I didn't have fun doing this, I certainly wouldn't, because there's definitely some work involved, and I'm making YouTube videos is not something that I'm sure that is super easy. You got a lot of editing, and you got to prepare, and there's work involved, but it's fun, and that's why we keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. We when we started doing the YouTube channel, that's exactly what it was pretty much based on. We just wanted to do something fun, just sort of lend our voices, give our personal takes on the music that we enjoy. So for everybody who follows our YouTube channel, we haven't been the channel's been on a little hiatus at the moment for other reasons, but hopefully, me and my man, my partner P. Ross, we can get back on the same page and putting out some content a little bit more on a consistent basis. But we'll see what happens. But other than that, I'm very appreciative to be on your podcast, man.
All right, really, thank you so much. This has been the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast. I've been your host, Jason Brenninger. You can find the show on social media, Press Rewind Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm also putting episodes of the podcast on YouTube, so look up Press Rewind Pod on YouTube. It's not a video show, it's just episodes of the podcast with music scrubbed, but some people like YouTube and listen to the show on YouTube, so I'm putting it up there for you. You can also check out my blog, pressrewind.net. I try to put stuff on there every once in a while, like little musings about the songs that I'm writing about, or little musings about the songs that I've recorded episodes for, sometimes diving into some of the other Prince music that's out there, whether it's B-sides or remixes, some of the associates that he's worked with over the years. So check it out, and until next time, thank you and goodbye.